But they've also, like our delivery guy was told not to take things to us, not to pick anything up from us, and was very adamant about it. So, like, we don't know, but it sounds more ideological than legal.
And you'd think there'd be some liability on there, and they've been in a contract with you all this time. They've been bringing stuff. They have some of your supplies, and just suddenly overnight, they're not going to bring you the stuff anymore, and it's sitting in their factories. Is that right?
That's the way it is, and that's how we hear about it. And in fact, we talked to another dealer that does almost $1 million a year with Canpar. They had zero understanding, and then now they're trying to fight to get the shipments that are in limbo back to them. Like they've got pallets and pallets of firearms that are out, but they have no idea where they are.
I'm Soos here for Rebel News, and I am outside of the Shooting Edge in Calgary, Alberta. We're about to talk to owner JR because one of the delivery services that this business uses and that many firearms business across this great country use has suddenly deplatformed the industry. They will no longer be carrying firearms or ammunition, and that company is Canpar. So we're going to talk to JR about this development and see the plan moving forward for the Shooting Edge in Calgary and for many businesses across the country. We've got a bit of a problem developing. One of your shippers has just basically quite suddenly canceled all firearms distribution across the country. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So the TDI group, which is Loomis and Canpar, sent out an email on Thursday, I believe it was, at noon, saying effective noon on Thursday, they were no longer carrying ammunition, firearms, or anything related to that, and that they wouldn't guarantee that anything in the pipeline would be delivered, so that it would have to just go back to the shipper.
Unbelievable. So how long have you had a relationship with Canpar as a distributor or deliverer for you?
Well, for probably about 20 years. So Canpar was probably one of the largest and the least expensive ammunition carriers in the country, because you can ship only through registered licensed carriers. Like the federal government has a specific list on who can and cannot ship firearms and ammunition. It'd be licensed for it. And there's only 10 carriers in the country that were, including Canada Post and Canpar. So now by losing that with no notice is significant, because Canpar had the biggest reach, so that there was some places in Canada, the only way to get ammunition to those locations was through Canpar.
Unbelievable. So after 20 years of sort of a healthy relationship, did they give any justification for the cancellation, or they just said, we don't have anything to do with the firearms industry anymore?
There was no notification. Nobody knew. Everybody was caught off guard. The Canadian Shooting Sports, like the association that kind of oversees, or is our association for distributors and dealers and manufacturers, they had no heads up either. So like everybody was caught off guard. So now you have, especially some of the smaller dealers who only have an account with Canpar, they're scrambling because they have no way to ship their goods. So their business is basically in limbo as of Thursday at noon.
And so do we know if they were lobbied? Were they pressured to drop this? Do we know, is this an ideological decision, or what? Do we have any idea what the motivation behind this is?
Actually, we don't know, because they're not actually answering and they're not giving anybody any information. Like there's no follow-up. The email we got says, more information will be forthcoming, but we haven't heard anything. So we don't know if it's economic, ideological, or it could be as simple as they let their permit expire. And so they're not licensed. Like, we don't know, because they're not talking. But they've also, like our delivery guy was told not to take things to us, not to pick anything up from us, and was very adamant about it. So, like, we don't know, but it sounds more ideological than legal.
And you'd think there'd be some liability on there, and they've been in a contract with you all this time. They've been bringing stuff. They have some of your supplies, and just suddenly overnight, they're not going to bring you the stuff anymore, and it's sitting in their factories. Is that right?
That's the way it is, and that's how we hear about it. And in fact, we talked to another dealer that does almost $1 million a year with Canpar. They had zero understanding, and then now they're trying to fight to get the shipments that are in limbo back to them. Like they've got pallets and pallets of firearms that are out, but they have no idea where they are.
And I know you mentioned being in Calgary here, you have access to some other distributors, but you discussed that there are some people in more remote regions who might be heavily impacted by this.
Well, this actually hurts. The people this hurts the most is the consumer in the remote areas. So the sustenance hunters and First Nations, because a lot of those areas, the only way to get packages out there was Canpar. Or to get there reasonably, because the problem is ammunition cannot go by air; it has to go by ground. And so people like UPS, almost everything they do is all air freight. So to go up to a Nuvik, it's air freight. It's not ground freight. So how else do you get it up there? Canpar was always by ground. So we don't have options to get to these people in remote areas. So that's the problem. City to city, big customers, the people that really this wouldn't impact anyway, this has no impact. But there's that segment of Canada that really, this is really a kick in the ass.
Well, it's certainly not unprecedented that these ideological battles on these high levels, whether it be lobbyists or otherwise, the people who end up suffering in the end is the little guy, the First Nations person who's trying to hunt in remote regions, the farmer trying to keep coyotes off his property, those types of things. Do you have any words for the firearms community at large, or any sort of suggestions or any details about your plan moving forward to deal with this?
Well, we're lucky. Like, we already had accounts with Pure Later and UPS and everybody else. So because we ship kind of volume, so we had to use this already. But my heart goes out to the small dealers, like the mom and pop shops that only had an account with you or with Canpar or Loomis, because they're scrambling. Contact the CSAAA if you're a small dealer, and and they'll try to help you. Like, they're working on trying to work out deals for the smaller shops. And then if you're just a Canpar customer, call and let Canpar know what you think about this. Be polite, right? We don't need people to think that we're a bunch of crazies. But be polite, but tell them you're displeased with this decision, because they're not talking. And so the moment they start backing down and saying, oh, information will be forthcoming, it tells me that they didn't have a solid reasoning beforehand. Otherwise, they would have told us, hey, we need to do this immediately because of this reason. And because they didn't give us that information, it stands to me that it's a decision they made in some corporate head office and aren't thinking this through.
So we're certainly going to reach out to Canpar and see what their side of the story is, see what the basis for this decision is. If you're a firearms enthusiast or a shop owner like JR here, and you've been affected by this, send me an email. Tell us your story, because we want to get to the bottom of this story. We're going to continue to follow it, make sure we figure out what exactly is going on here. Thanks for inviting us here into your beautiful shop, the Shooting Edge in Calgary. I want to thank JR for taking a little bit of time out of his busy day to share this story with us. It's often the little guys, the farmers, the First Nations hunters, that are most affected by these ideological deplatformings. We're going to touch base with Canpar and see why they decided to cancel services to businesses that they've been serving for 20 years. I want to thank you for tuning in. For Rebel News, I'm Adam Soos.
Hi, Jordan. It's Beverly calling from Canpar. I'm just calling regarding your account. I know that you do firearms and as such, and we are no longer carrying them. Really sorry for the inconvenience. Not sure on any feedback on why. I was notified yesterday. I did try calling, but your phone does different things. In any case, I'm happy I got a voicemail now. So again, it's regarding the account. We don't ship any kind of firearms or anything related to that, like the ammunition, the powder, or anything like that. Okay? So Beverly from Canpar, you can drop me an email, bcameron@canpar.com. Thank you. Bye.
Hey guys, it's only a matter of time before YouTube deplatforms us entirely. You need to go to rebelnews.com so we can continue to share the other side of the story.